Hello, I'm your cinema contrarian Tim. Today I would like to discuss The Last Jedi. This is a film that I liked very much and I had no issues with. Well, let me backtrack. At the time I was watching it, I had two issues with the film, but as I've thought about it since then, I don't even have those issues, for the most part. But I'll get to that. Just so you know where I'm coming from with this franchise and the film, I am not the biggest fan of Disney's direction with Star Wars. I rank The Force Awakens as one of my least favorite Star Wars films. At the same time, I rank Rogue One and Last of the Jedi as two of my favorites. I was around in 1977 to see the first film in the theater. I've seen most of the films since then, opening weekend. Return of the Jedi is my least favorite, and I count some of the prequels as some of my favorites, so I'm all over the map in terms of Star Wars and not into the cookie cutter mold of someone who's been around since 77 should be, at least according to fandom. So I really liked The Last Jedi. I saw it with my son, and he liked it as much as I did. We both came out of the theater just ecstatic about it. I understand that not everybody has had that same experience. There are some people who came out of The Last Jedi and really hated it. Um, I think some of the things that I've read online that I don't understand is Rian Johnson ruined The Last Jedi. Well, that suggests that there was a good version of The Last Jedi, one not written by Rian Johnson, and that he came in and trashed that good one that he didn't write. I don't know how you can ruin something that's your version of the thing. I don't know, because it's his version. Um, you could say he ruined the franchise or he ruined Luke Skywalker, since those were not his inventions, but I don't know how he could have ruined something he invented. Um, I've also heard that the movie ruins Luke Skywalker, which again mystifies me. I like Luke Skywalker more now than I ever liked him before. I could not relate to the goody-goody character that he was in the original trilogy. Even with his dabbling in the dark side in Return of the Jedi, um, I never bought it. He always seemed to me to be too good to be true, and in that respect, not very interesting to me. So in this film, when he takes the lightsaber and chucks it over his shoulder, I was like, yes, he's doing something unexpected. And when he refuses to train Rey, great, he's doing more things unexpected. When he considered murdering his nephew, wow, that was so cool. Um, Not because I want to see Luke Skywalker be a bad guy, but to see that Luke Skywalker actually has flaws. You know, he's not a perfect goody-goody. He's a person who struggles like we all do. And the interesting thing about him is he comes around to the right decision. We are not all so savvy or blessed to do that. You know, we, I think, probably make more mistakes than he does in life. So he's still a completely admirable character. In that sense, he's not ruined. He made some mistakes along the way, and that makes him so much more interesting than the Wonderkind that we had in the original trilogy. Again, that's just my opinion. But let's talk about the two things I had an issue with when I was watching the film. Now, one of the things I did not have an issue with was Canto Bite. No issue with this whatsoever. And I knew going in that this was something that other people had an issue with, and they had an issue with Finn's arc. I didn't have an issue with Finn's arc. I didn't have an issue with Canto Bite. I thought it was definitely a kind of side quest. The fact that it was unsuccessful went along with the general theme of the film. The general theme of the film is that we learn from our failures. Finn and Rose failed, and they will learn from their failures. So I totally didn't think it was a waste of time. The horse racing and the slave kids, none of that bothered me. It all seemed to go perfectly fine with the Star Wars universe that I know. I also didn't understand why people called it prequel-y or like Harry Potter. Those were not vibes I got from it. I just got a Star Wars vibe from it. So I had no issue with Canto Bight. The first thing I had an issue with was the Leia Poppin scene. And I should preface it by saying the only issue I had with that was how it looked, its appearance, the aesthetics of it. From a physics point of view, it makes sense. First off, we're dealing in a universe that has space wizards. So the sister and daughter of one of these space wizards has been established to have some space wizard powers. It only takes the slightest amount of force to overcome inertia in a gravityless vacuum like she was in. There is almost no inertial resistance, so it would only take the tiniest effort to slowly move oneself from point A to point B. No issue there. Now, a lot of people will complain that, oh, well, she was in the vacuum of space. She should have died instantly. No, the vacuum of space does not kill you instantly, despite what Hollywood would have you believe. You have at least a minute in which you're still alive. Now, given again that she's the sister and daughter of Space Wizard with Space Wizard powers, of course she has more than a minute to live in the vacuum of space. So, again, I see these as non-issues. The only issue I had with it was how it looked. And I don't know how you fix that. If you make her skirt flowy, then it suggests she's flying through an atmosphere, which clearly she wasn't flying through an atmosphere. She was flying through a vacuum of space. The only thing I can think is maybe her dress should have been clinging to her body a little more. Not a lot, but a little more, and then it would have looked less billowy, less like Mary Poppins. But I don't even know if that's an answer. I don't have an answer. I will tell you, at the end of the day, that is the one issue I have with The Last Jedi, is I did not like the presentation of Princess Leia flying through space. But I have no issue with it from a philosophical point of view. I think it's totally valid. Now, here's the other thing I had an issue with as I was watching the film, is when Finn and Rose fail to make contact with the code breaker at the gambling table. They are put into a cell, and they meet another code breaker in the cell. And I thought, that's way too convenient. Like, that they're going to Canto Bight to find a code breaker, and there happens to be another code breaker in the cell with them. I thought, this is too much. This is just way too coincidental. Until I thought about it further. And it seems to me, and the way I read it, is that Benicio del Toro's character, DJ, was a con man. He wasn't a code breaker, he was a con man. And he saw in those two a con that he could play, that he could get, money, favors, whatever, out of them, if he pretended to be a code breaker. Now, that's not to say that he doesn't, as a con man, also probably have some code breaking ability. He probably does. The point I'm trying to make is that they did not coincidentally meet another code breaker in the jail cell. They met a con man in a jail cell, and you're very likely to meet a con man or con person in a jail cell, because that's generally where they're going to wind up when the game is up and they get caught. So again, this was something I had an issue with when I saw it in the theater, but as I thought about it more, and I realized he's not a code breaker, he's a con man, then I had no issue with that either. So the only issue that I have with The Last Jedi is the presentation of Princess Leia flying through space. I liked every other aspect of this film, honestly and genuinely, and I understand that some people didn't. And the only thing that I would ask those people is, please stop trying to convince other people to think like you do. I'm not trying to convince anyone that they should like The Last Jedi. I realize I have an odd sense of taste when it comes to Star Wars films, because I'm of the age to appreciate the classic trilogy. I was a child when the classic trilogy came out, and yet I can't stand Return of the Jedi. It's my least favorite film of all the 11, 10, however many Star Wars films we've had now. 9. I think it's 9. It's my least favorite. This is not normal. I don't have a normal point of view. But I'm not trying to convince other people that, oh, you must bow down and agree that The Last Jedi is the most fantastic Star Wars. No, no. Have whatever opinion you want, but don't try to convince other people that they have to have your opinion, or that they're stupid, or that they're shills for thinking that it's a good movie. People are allowed to differ, you know. Judging films is a very subjective thing. People have different opinions. Let's allow people to have different opinions, and let's try to be civil to each other. The kind of vitriol that I see out there benefits no one. It really doesn't. It only hurts all of us. So let's try to be nice to each other, regardless of whether we disagree about films or agree about them. I hope you have a good day. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Thanks again. Bye-bye.